Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of With the Old Breed by E.B. Sledge, narrated by George Wilson. This work is copyrighted 1981 by Presidio Press. This recording is copyrighted 2001 by Recorded Books. Paul Fussell writes the following introduction. I owe a large debt to John Keegan, the British military historian, for it was he who first told me about this book. It was in the mid-1980s, and I was searching out testimonies from Second World War combatants for my book Wartime. "Have you read Sledge?" Keegan asked. I'd not heard of Sledge. His book had appeared a few years before, with little fanfare and minimal critical notice. But Keegan, a sharp-eyed and comprehensive researcher, had found the book and was so impressed as to write later, in his book The Second World War, "Among the thousands of soldiers' stories, I am haunted by one from the Pacific War." Keegan found Sledge's account of his experience fighting in the South Pacific to be one of the most arresting documents in war literature. Keegan's haunted is the right word. Readers of this book will find it hard to forget, and they will not easily brush away its troubling revelations about what the modern world periodically requires its boys to do and to suffer. One cause of this book's distinction is that its author is not an author. Sledge wrote this memoir less for strangers than to tell his own family what his war had been like. It was his wife who persuaded him to submit it to a publisher. The book is devoid of the literary expediencies and suavities that may occasion skepticism or disgust in more artistically self-conscious war memoirs. Sledge is so little an author in the pejorative sense that his eye seems never to wander from his subject to contemplate the literary effect he's creating. His style is like window glass. You don't pause to notice it. You look through it to the actuality it discloses. It is this honesty, simplicity, and modesty that give Sledge's book its extraordinary power. Eugene Bondurant Sledge, Sledgehammer to his later Marine Corps buddies and friends, was born in Mobile, Alabama in 1923. As a child he was sickly, afflicted first with malaria and then with rheumatic fever, which weakened his heart and confined him to a wheelchair for nearly a year, during which he had to miss school. But he recovered to enter high school in 1938, where he did better in science and history than in algebra. Latin grammar bored him, but he found translating Caesar on warfare exciting. He liked classes in literature, except when the teacher left the world of solid data and began talking about symbolism and the like. He learned to play the snare drum and joined both the marching band and the school orchestra, and he was attracted more to informal than to organized sports. He especially liked sandlot baseball. Discipline at home and at school was strict, he remembers, so I stayed out of trouble. His family lived on the edge of town, and his father, a physician, taught him to shoot and to observe things precisely and then to describe all I had seen. Sledge read a great deal and learned to revere Washington, Audubon, Daniel Boone, and, of course, Robert E. Lee. His grandfathers on both sides had been Confederate officers. On his father's phonograph, Sledge played Bach, Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven. He liked pretty girls a lot, but during adolescence he seemed to like riding, hunting, and fishing even more. He was a freshman at a 2-year military college in Alabama when, a year after Pearl Harbor, he decided to enter the Marines, enlisting in a program that guaranteed him a further year of school before he joined. He underwent the dire passage from innocence to experience that he describes here from 1943 to 1946. When the war was over, he found himself miraculously unwounded, at least in body. He studied business administration at Auburn University without much sense of vocation, and then worked briefly in real estate and insurance, before perceiving that his interest in biology and zoology was pointing him toward a quite different career. He returned to Auburn for a master's degree and then went
Sample complete. Ready to continue?